What is going on YouTube? Hayden back making another brand new Crypto TV episode. Merry Christmas to you guys. Merry Christmas Eve. I will be making a video tomorrow as well, probably in the evening. But furthermore, I do want to just jump into today's technical analysis and into today's video because I do believe we have quite a bit of stuff to discuss in today's video. Quite a bit of important things and topics to go over. As you guys know, the market is starting to correct back downwards as predicted, as I wanted it to, as I was hoping for it to go to. I know it sounds a little bit odd, but I was anticipating the market to correct lower, and when I was experiencing, or when we were experiencing the market shooting up higher than what was previously graphed on the charts, I was getting quite curious and interested as to where the market was going to pull to, because it started to go outside of technical analysis, and manipulation or FOMO took over and really started to drag the cryptocurrency out to prices I wasn't really anticipating. But as of right now, it seems like we are currently back on track. The market is currently correcting back down to more neutral levels in places where we did have technical analysis drawn, and I want to continue off of that basis to not only discuss what is happening with Bitcoin, but XRP, Ethereum, as well as Litecoin. I also want to discuss with you guys a current Cointelegraph article. It says Bitcoin pulls back down into futures gap, but is it too early for 8K? So they are obviously on the bearish side as of right now. They do have some bullish, technical analysis and possibilities as well, but for the most part, their technical analysis and their thought is on a bearish move within the cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin, but that does affect XRP and the other altcoins. But otherwise, if you guys are new to the channel, definitely make sure to subscribe. I'm really trying to hit 13,000 subscribers, and you guys are absolutely killing it. Subscribing, practically we're gaining like 100 every other day, and it's absolutely wild. So keep it up, guys. We're about to break 13K. That's awesome. I also want to try a new thing. I believe if you drop a thumbs up, the more likes we get on the YouTube video, the higher we rank in the YouTube algorithm. So let's check that out. Drop a thumbs up, help support the channel. Otherwise, turn on post notifications, and I highly recommend watching to the end of the video because, as you guys know, there's quite a bit of interesting information that you guys will find quite useful in regards to making a little bit of side money and, pretty much figuring out where the market is headed. Otherwise, I took you guys' advice and I started to reduce the amount of ads that I put on the video, so hopefully you guys appreciate that. Merry Christmas to everybody. I know you guys wanted that, but otherwise let's jump into the technical analysis. So currently I am on my YouTube channel, as you guys can see here. We did a couple of interesting technical analysis. If we want to flash back into the past, you can see a couple of things. Obviously, we had some interesting movements. You can see right back here, this is when we were previously tracking the history. We were seeing if history repeated itself. Then the following day, we saw the candle correct to the downside. We thought that it was breaking out early. It was correcting to the downside earlier than what we were anticipating, which was obviously great news, but it was something that we weren't anticipating and expecting. Then immediately after that, you can see right here, we had an interesting play right here where we were actually breaking a candle below what appears to be the massive symmetrical triangle, and we thought this was going to be the start to the correction to the downside. Now, flash forward to the past 5 days, you notice that after we had that correction to the downside, we immediately corrected back inside of the symmetrical triangle, and we continued to trade inside of there. We then were comparing this to previous history, seeing interesting trends, similarities in the price, and then we were ultimately trying to retest this, very, very, very high pressured zone where we had the bears and bulls fighting each other. Then 2 days ago, we were tracking, was I wrong, whether or not that we had the symmetrical triangle actually break bullish. We actually broke outside of the symmetrical triangle, which is what we were discussing yesterday, as we hit a very strong resistance at 7.6K on Bitcoin, which you can see right here. We were hitting a $7,600 to $7,700 resistance area, and we were seeing whether or not we could break that. And I said in yesterday's video, if we manage to break above this support, above this resistance, it was going to act as a support, ultimately pushing us up into higher levels, and we were going to ultimately see a bull run. Now, that didn't happen, and we're actually correcting to the downside right now, and a lot of the cryptocurrencies, as you can see on the current coin market cap, are actually in the red. Very small amount. There's a small correction to the downside starting right now within a lot of the major cryptocurrencies, and I want to continue to elaborate off of that, discussing with you guys my analysis, my opinions, where the market's heading, how to make money. Obviously, some of this is repetitive, but for those of you who are new to the channel, this will be an earful, and I highly recommend you watch to the end because you will be learning quite a bit of information. Now, to jump into the technical analysis part, this is Cointelegraph's article, and they thought that crypto was starting to be bearish. More specifically, Bitcoin is. They had quite a bit of graphs in here. I don't want to, just read everything, but for the most part, the key takeaways is in the fact that they're starting to see a bearish fractal form on Bitcoin, or one that they're really starting to track right now, and it's holding quite well. You can see right here, this is an extreme bearish fractal, a bear flag, something of the sort. I've seen a lot of these patterns happen in the past. We tend to break bearish, but for the most part, we could start to see us retrace lower. Cointelegraph is starting to give a more bearish outlook and a bearish optimism and optimistic view on the market. So with that being said, it seems like they are starting to reanalyze their position, and they're starting to turn more bearish, as a lot of other YouTubers and a lot of other, media outlets like that. And that's pretty much where I've been since the market kind of took off like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Ever since we discovered the pattern that was forming within Bitcoin, we've been ultimately talking about how the market needs to correct down another 30%. Now, to continue off, for those of you who are watching the video in regards to XRP, XRP has had some very interesting movements. Yesterday and the past couple of weeks, the past couple of days on XRP, we've been noticing, and I'd say since December 17th, so we've had about 4, 5, 6, 7 days now, about a week now, of a very interesting pattern forming. We noticed it was some sort of ascending triangle, which we kind of knew, and I did say yesterday that these tend to break bearish. Usually ascending triangles within cryptocurrency break bearish. I know that goes against Investopedia and the stocks, but usually they ultimately have some sort of very strong resistance, and they correct to the downside. Unlike descending triangles and symmetrical triangles, which tend to break upwards, descending triangles tend to break upwards. This has the inverse effect, and you can see that's exactly what we did. We were at around 1966, and we corrected all the way back down to 18 and change. You can see this was a drop, a small drop, but a drop of about 4.6%, so nothing too bad, and ultimately there's a chance we could head lower. The 4 hour, we look okay. We're trading at 41, plenty of room to head up as well as plenty of room to head down. Fairly low in the RSI on the daily, but you can see what exactly is happening. We are now stuck in a support. We've had numerous days now of trending inside of this channel right here, which you can see has quite a bit of dominance right here on XRP's 2017 charts. You can see not only between 20 cents, but between 18 and about 20 cents, we tend to trend inside of here quite a bit. You can see even as low as 19 to 20, we trend quite a bit. And you can see that's kind of happening right now within the coin right here. We're opening up a new chart, a new channel at that. So like I said, there's a very good chance we're going to continue to see this consolidation for the next couple of weeks within XRP, trending sideways. And then ultimately, if the markets do trend and tend to correct lower, we're going to see this coin drop to about 16 cents, maybe 15.8, and then ultimately see that breakout. Now, I am still bullish in the long term, but in regards to the short term, I do expect to see a bearish retracement, a bearish correction to the downside, and then the ultimate swing to the upside. Now, let's talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, because these are showing the most interesting patterns compared to the rest of the market. We'll look at Litecoin and Ethereum, the kind of the sister coins to Bitcoin, and you can see very interesting patterns, and this has pretty much been telling me which direction and which way Bitcoin wants to head. So you can see after an immediate correction to the downside, on Litecoin back, it was all the way, I believe, the 16th and the 17th of December, we were actually trending sideways, and we got stuck in what appears to be a somewhat descending triangle, but for the most part, it is actually a bearish fractal. You can see after retesting the resistance line right here, we ultimately broke bearish and fell to support, and that's where we got hugged. On Bitcoin, you can see that same thing happened right here, and then we started to trend upwards, ultimately hitting resistance once again, and now not being able to break here, and we're starting to correct lower. You can see after this, and we're most likely going to start to see the correction lower. This will ultimately happen within Bitcoin too. Ethereum's doing quite the same thing, a little bit different, but for the most part, it is the same thing. It isn't hitting its resistance just yet, but you can see it did bottom off at around the 16th and 17th of December, and now it's trending upwards, but you can see it does seem to have a bit of consolidation at this point, but ultimately it is capped off at resistance here. Same thing with Litecoin. Doesn't seem like we want to break through here. We tried yesterday, we didn't close above there, we actually closed on the line, and you can see we started a new candle today, which will ultimately probably correct to the downside. The craziest thing that I think ultimately is within Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is doing some pretty crazy, wild stuff, especially where we are currently. You can see right here as I zoom in on the technical analysis on Bitcoin's chart, we are having the craziest charting and analysis that I've seen on Bitcoin in quite some time now. You can see we broke bearish earlier. This was actually good news, at least in my books, because I was anticipating us to head even lower. 30%. We actually, what I believe is a pump fake. It shot us right back up to our previous support. We then trended on here for about 3 days, almost 3 to 4 days of just sideways consolidation, ultimately breaking a bullish jump. And you can see we ended up capping off at around the $7,600 to $7,700 resistance. You can see it's been quite a strong resistance in the past, ever since I'd say November 22nd. So about a month now of just resistance zones right here. And then we're ultimately falling all the way back down to support. What's crazy to me is in the fact that we actually then retested the resistance again, and in the fact that we've now closed the candle once again inside the symmetrical triangle. That's what's crazy to me. This is a very strong resistance and a very strong support. The the prices are fighting each other, the bears and the bulls, and we've literally just been trading independently in between here for quite some time now. So we are on the 4-hour chart, and I do just want to graph to see how much longer we have left in this channel right here, and it's mere, I would honestly say 3 days, if not less. I mean, there's really not much happening right now, and we should see the outcome by the end of this week, ultimately deciding whether or not we want to break bearish or break bullish. Now, I know a lot of people are hyped and wanting the coin to be breaking bullish, but ultimately, I do think we're going to correct lower. And as I zoom out, you'll kind of see why, and you can obviously make your own decision. But you can see that there's been an ever so long-term support uptrend since 2016. So for about 4 years now, or almost 3 years now, of just uptrend. And you can see we've retested this. We eventually rose away from here. We came back down to test support. We rose away, and now it looks like we want to come back down and retest here. Ultimately, if we retest this, I would say this would ultimately be the bottom for 2020, and then we'd see the price, shoot up to extreme levels as high as 13,000. And what will guarantee that we see this being retested in May of 2020 is ultimately if this breakout to the downside happens. If we can correct down 30% to this support, I can almost guarantee that next year, in 2020, we will see a $13,000 Bitcoin again, if not maybe even a little higher. This will ultimately be huge. We've been setting positive return on investments every year. You can see we had in December 2016, we were at around 748. December 2017, we had around 2,900. So if you bought it at 700, you'd have it at around $2,800 to $2,900 in 1 year. And then once again, 2,900, 3,000 to almost $8,000, $7,000. So ultimately, every year you're making more and more and more profit. It's been a positive return on investment every single time. But we're ultimately seeing whether or not we're going to be breaking this. And I do think we will. You can see very similar. We are closing in right now. Very little volume happening. We're getting very close to breaking bearish. Same thing is going on here. And then this is what we're expecting. Obviously, we will take advantage of that with DueDEX. DueDEX is awesome. I've explained it in all my videos. And I will continue to support them because I do find them very, 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 very strong. For those of you that are wondering why I closed my position, the only reason I did is because it seems like we have another week of consolidation, another couple of days of consolidation, and if you do leave a position open in DueDEX, they do charge you about 10 cents, but I'd rather just reevaluate my position and buy in. Obviously, we could have dollar cost average, and that still is an option, which would have lowered my buy-in. But ultimately, once I do buy back in and I leverage it by 10 times and we do see that drop, potentially that 30% drop, I will be making more than what I lost, which was only $40. A $40 loss on something which will be making me probably a couple $100 is a risk I'm willing to take. Obviously, the link is in the description. It's the first link if you want to sign up. Prepare yourself, guys. Definitely make sure you have this account set up and ready with Bitcoin before we see this major correction happen, because you want to capitalize on it and you want to learn how to actually use the account before you actually need to use it. So check it out. Otherwise, that's going to wrap up today's episode. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notification, drop a thumbs up, bump that YouTube algorithm, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Peace.